Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of GregTech New Horizons. Last time we left off having started on this house and getting a considerable amount of work done. Now, you'll notice that several things have happened off screen, and that's not just because I was trying to get it done between episodes, it's actually because I had audio issues. In specific, I forgot to unmute my mic when I started recording. So instead of going through and dubbing over the footage that I have, we're just going to walk through all of the stuff that I ended up doing, and we'll have like a nice quick recap of it all. Alright, so let's go over the house to start, because the majority of the episode was spent on this house. Now, this house, well, the first thing that we'll see is when we're coming in, the staircase has changed. It's no longer on the left side over here against the outside wall. We've moved it to the inside wall. And the reason for that is threefold, actually. First of all, what it lets us do is it lets us put a window over here. And this just helps break up the huge flat wall that was an issue in last episode. So by adding a window there, it helps break it up. The second thing that it lets us do is it lets us play with this area at the end of the hall a little bit. And specifically, it lets us add an entry here by pushing this wall back. So before, this wall extended further out this way, but we can cut it short and push this wall back here to add an entry, while still maintaining plenty of space here. The third thing that moving the staircase lets us do is it lets us push this top section of the wall back. Before, because the staircase was right up against the wall here, then we didn't have any choice but to have the top floor wall come straight up here. But because of moving the staircase, we can now have a more interesting roof line here because of the extra space that we've gotten. Now, while showing off the staircase, you might have noticed that we've worked on this room a little bit. And aside from the entrance and this window here, we've mostly just relocated our supplies. So the tinker setup and a bunch of storage, reorganizing our stuff. All of it has been moved over here. Now, in terms of this window and this layout, we've actually improved the exterior design as well. Now you can see how there's an interesting amount of three-dimensionality going on here. And I think I really like the shape over here. I think this is my favorite side of the house. Moving on, after this room, we come into this area here, and there's two changes over here. First of all is we've tried out a type of flooring for the kitchen. So we have sandstone, just regular sandstone on the right, and chiseled sandstone into these tiles on the left. And I'm not quite sure which I like better, so I'll just leave it for now, and maybe some of you can chime in the comments and say which one you prefer. We've also improved this fireplace here. We've made it no longer flush with the wall, so adding a little bit of depth and improving the shape, which I think just helps that much more. Now, in terms of the rest of the house, on the first floor, not much has changed. We've tweaked the fireplace in the rear a little bit. This hasn't changed very much. We've already seen this, and we can already see that this big flat wall has improved noticeably, but that about wraps it up for the first floor. So let's move on to the second floor. On the second floor, what we've done is we've done a little bit of laying out of the rooms. So we've continued the trend of pushing the second floor back a little bit to give us space for an interesting roof line, but it's not uniformly like 2 blocks away from the lower floor wall. Some places it's 1 block away, and in some places it's 0 blocks away. In here, it's 3 blocks away. So I think that kind of variety will just help us out with having a dynamic roof line. And furthermore, let's take a look at the interior spaces here. So the amount of space after laying out just the exterior walls wasn't a lot, and it wasn't a very workable space. But by dividing it in half like so, we've got 2 fairly manageable rooms. It's a little symmetric, but they're pretty good. Now, this one I'm thinking is the bedroom on account of being able to throw down a door here to help us divide the space. And we can throw down some chests in this section to make a little like storage closet, maybe throw down another double door so it becomes like a little storage closet. And then on this side here, because it's opened up right into the staircase, I'm thinking this should be some sort of like upstairs study area. And what's nice is this is exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. And for those of you who know, 5 blocks is exactly what we would want for an enchanting setup. So we would just have something like that, enchanting table in the middle, and you can already see that this is a really nice size space to throw down an enchanting setup. Now, we still have yet to do much with the actual roof of this house, but that will be for next episode, and it will take a little bit of effort. But we've started laying out some stuff with these carpenter's blocks. And now what carpenter's blocks let you do is you can actually shape them into a variety of shape with this carpenter's hammer. So you can make it into a slab, you can make it into a vertical slab, which is awesome. And you can throw down whatever block you want to get that texture into that shape. So let's say I wanted dirt. And now dirt, there is no such thing as a dirt slab. But what I can do is with this carpenter's hammer, I can make a dirt slab. I can make a dirt vertical slab. And so that's really great. It helps us get a lot of shapes. We'll just look at carpenters. So we have a variety of shapes. We have even sloped shapes. We got stairs. We got fences and all sorts of stuff. Trap doors and ladders, all sorts of stuff. So we'll be using carpenter's blocks to help us shape a roof out, and in a couple of other places, and we'll be putting something in for the roof. So what did we decide was going to be used in the roof block? Well, out of all of the blocks that we have available to us, there's one major block that we haven't taken advantage of, and that's stained clay, like the gray stained or cyan stained clay in these cliffs and the colorful stained clay over there. So with all of this stained clay that we have access to, I thought it'd be a great idea to try some out for the roofline. And so if we look at the stained clays, there's a variety of colors here, but the one that stood out to me as being the best with some, creative mode testing in another world is this magenta stained clay. Now, unfortunately, there is no magenta or even any other nice colors that generate in this biome. I've checked, nor are there any that generate in this mountain. So we're gonna need to color it ourselves. Now we do have some magenta dye, and we did get some from a quest reward, but in order to get more, we needed to look for some sort of renewable source of magenta dye. And would you have it? Here is a wonderful renewable source of magenta dye. It's the lilac, which we can grow via bone meal, much like other 2 tall flowers, and it turns into 2 magenta dye. Now we did have to explore a little bit in order to find the lilac, and so we found it in this biome over here. So we just did a little bit of exploring looking for the 2 tall flowers. And while we were doing so, we were also on a lookout for the surface lava, which has been one of our goals for a while, to get some lava to get nether access and obsidian. We did start the cow farm in order to get the leather gloves for that, and it's been growing quite profoundly, but unfortunately killing cows causes them to explode for whatever reason, and that has caused AoE damage to our villagers, and that's not great. So before we start really improving this farm, we're going to want to separate out the villagers and the cows. Regardless, we did end up crafting our leather gloves. They're just in this chest over here, but we did not find any surface lava. You might have also noticed that our journey map, let's just get out in the open, looks a little bit different. We don't have the snow biome over here, and we don't have some of the places that we've gone are no longer visible on the map. And the reason for that is because we had to load a backup at some point, and unfortunately journey maps weren't backed up along with the rest of the save. Nevertheless, on our hunt for lava, unable to find any surface lava, we looked underground. And where did we end up looking? That's right, we came into this roguelike dungeon in order to help search for some underground lava. Unfortunately, the footage of exploring the roguelike dungeon is lost. Or, well, not lost, but it's got the audio issues. But it wasn't too bad with some liberal usage of blocks and some torch spamming. And we did end up finding a little bit of what we were looking for. So if we zoom in on the map, there was this small cave here. And while it looks like it actually would support a lot of lava, let's actually go check it out. What ended up happening is that the lava that we saw in this cave was not a lava pool, but rather just some lava coming off of the side, just like in a little gap like that, and flowing downwards. And that made it look like there was a lot more lava than there was. Thankfully though, we did find 2 buckets of lava, one of which we have buried back, and the other one which is sitting right here. So let's grab this, and let's grab the rest of our loot, and we'll head back. Now, there is one last major thing that we ended up doing. And if you've seen the thumbnail of this video, then you should already know what that is. And that is we went mining. So this chunk is an ore chunk, as you can see in the top left. And on account of needing a ton of iron in order to work on our tools, let's actually talk about that for a second. So in order to make these carpenter's blocks, which we need for the roof, well, we need these wooden frame boxes and a screwdriver and some screws of either iron or wood. So we need to get a screwdriver, which requires some rods, file, and hammer. We need to get some screws, which we can produce with a file and some bolts, which are of course obtained with a saw and a rod, which is obtained with a file and an ingot. So pretty straightforward. File and saw are things that we already have access to, but we would also need quite a lot of wood because the wood screws and the wood frame boxes take a bunch of sticks. So the best way of doing that would be with a metal saw to help us reduce the amount of wood that we need to chop down. Furthermore, if we want to increase the amount of carpenter's blocks that we get, we would need an iron screw, and that would require some amount of iron as well. And finally, we also need a wrench in the middle of this. And so to get a wrench is just a hammer with some ingots of some sort of metal, like iron, say. So putting that all together, we had very much a need of a supply of iron. And so we went down into this ore chunk. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention the carpenter's hammer itself also requires iron screwdriver and chainsaw and some carpenter's blocks. So just a whole bunch of iron. And so we went down into the mines, and lo and behold, we were lucky enough to find some magnetite as well as gold. So if we look at journey map and we turn on, let's zoom in over here, we turn on the ore veins, we can see that this is a gold ore vein. So we got magnetite, gold, and vanadium magnetite. And gold is fairly useless, but magnetite can be straight up smelted into iron ingots. And vanadium magnetite can unfortunately not be used. We don't have any of the advanced machineries that we need in order to process vanadium magnetite. However, as you can see, there's a ton of ore down here. So even with all of the iron that we mined and smelted, there's still plenty to use for tools and whatnot. Perhaps when we start making machines, this will be a small amount. And as we use the durability on our tools to make things like plates and rods, it might start depleting. But for now, we have plenty of iron in this chunk right here. And of course, we can probably find it in other ore chunks as well. Now, with that said and done, we did end up making a fair bit of progress on our quest book as well. So if we look at our quest lines, just the process of digging out that ore chunk let us get all of the cobblestone for this. And we also finished the cow tipper as well as this cotton quest with our cow farm and all of the cotton we've been growing. Unfortunately, we did not get this quest unlocked before we made the gloves. So we made the gloves before this quest, so we have to do it again. We also finished the coal coke quest, and We got a checkbox tech quest here. We did end up getting, like I said, a fair bit of iron, so this was an easy quest to knock out. And here's the tools that we mentioned. And we got this, again, just because we needed those tools for carpenter's blocks. Lastly, we got this better crafting table that we looted from the village. So, with that all said and done, what are our next steps? The next step, again, is just to be getting a large amount of the stained clay so that we can finish the roof and figuring out how we want to shape it with carpenter's blocks and the hammer. And we're also going to try to work on some of these quests a little bit more. We'll try finishing up the furnishing inside. We'll, throw down some cabinets or whatever we can get our hands on. Maybe improve our storage situation a little bit. Work on some decoration with the windows and exterior. So we'll be improving the house, and we'll be working on our quests. And I'd like to maybe, work towards some of this tanned leather stuff, like a sleeping bag, some backpacks so we can go exploring. And we'll look into maybe some of this stuff with subsequent quests. This one in particular is enticing. I have no idea how we're going to get the redstone, but getting an ore finder wand sounds cool. So yeah, we'll be working on some of these quests and the house. That said, we have spent a fair bit of time on this recap, so we're going to call the episode here. We've got a lot of progress done in this one, and we'll be doing just as much hopefully in the next one. So I'll see you guys in the next episode of GregTech New Horizons.